Things are always very different in public versus private life, and everything is under a magnifying glass.
I don't regret nothing about life, anything I've been through, up or down. It just was what it was, and that's behind us, grown, and I believe in, respect. I grew up on respect, and I think if disrespect, we deal with that.
Something snapped in Toni Braxton's world, and it wasn't about love, fame, or the spotlight. It was something way heavier, something darker that had folks side-eyeing the whole situation. Around that same time, she claimed a demon straight up spoke to her. Birdman had that weird moment on stage that left the crowd whispering like, "Hold up! What are we even watching right now?"
And I know your nigga be in them hallways.
People started talking like maybe Cash Money wasn't just built on hits and contracts. Maybe there was something spiritual behind the scenes, something nobody was supposed to talk about. But what Toni later revealed had fans shook because it flipped everything they thought they knew about Birdman, Cash Money records, and the secrets that were supposedly tucked behind those locked doors. This is where everything started spiraling. Toni claimed she literally heard a demon speak to her, and then she dropped a line that left the room silent. She told Tamar that the Bible was written by a racist white man. She said that right after Tamar opened up about wanting to read the Bible more so she could protect herself from the dark energy she felt creeping around her. Not long after that, the rumors came crashing back harder than before. People were whispering that Birdman might be tied to those so-called industry ceremonies. The hush-hush ones nobody with a big name ever admits to publicly. Fans started connecting dots they swore they never noticed until now. Then February 2024 rolled in with one of the eeriest moments anyone had seen. And that's when things really got wild. Birdman ended up going viral after the Hot Boys reunion in North Carolina because cameras caught him just standing there on stage, completely still, head down, mic in his hand, not moving a muscle while everybody else was performing like normal. At first, folks were cracking jokes, saying he was just worn out. But when BG had to tap him just to snap him back into the moment, the internet lit up with questions like, "Yo, what is going on with him?"
And every left me was never successful without me.
People online started guessing everything. Was he spaced out, overwhelmed, or dealing with something spiritual nobody knew about? Things got even wilder when Toni's friends allegedly said she told them something had gone wrong in that same spiritual sense. And the timing matched up almost too perfectly, which had fans looking sideways at everything happening between them. And the wildest part? This wasn't even the first time Birdman's name got thrown into strange spiritual conversations. When that whole Diddy situation blew up, one of the alleged victims claimed it wasn't some random situation. They described it as a ritual-style gathering. In that same statement, the person mentioned Birdman along with a few others. Once fans heard that, people on social media started connecting the dots again, wondering if that story about a so-called ritual gathering was part of the same dark circles Birdman kept getting tied to.
Yes, sir. I want to start this off straight, telling all three of y'all stop playing with my name.
Let's go on there. Let's go.
Stop playing with my name.
Let's do it on camera.
Stop playing with my name.
Let's
I ain't
go
gonna
right
say it
on
no
in.
more.
Birdman's name kept popping up again and again, and it wasn't just random chatter anymore. People started noticing there was something off about the way he moved behind all that fame, money, and success. It felt like he lived by his own personal code, almost like a ritual built on loyalty, control, and keeping everybody in line. Once you stepped into his circle, you weren't just signing paperwork. You were basically tying yourself to him for real, and Birdman used to brag about that proudly. He would always say every artist who walked away from Cash Money never touched the same level again without him, and somehow they always ended up trying to come back. That wasn't just confidence, it sounded like a warning wrapped in a flex. You were either standing with him or standing against him, and people knew being on the wrong side came with real consequences. That's exactly what Toni Braxton was hinting at when she said she had seen things she couldn't unsee. She wasn't just talking about drama or regular industry beef. She was talking about the way Birdman demanded full-on loyalty, like absolute obedience with no pushback. And you can't forget that legendary moment at the Breakfast Club back in 2016. Birdman didn't even wait for the cameras to start rolling. He walked in with his whole crew, the energy in the room instantly shifting. He stood in front of Charlemagne, DJ Envy, and Angela Yee, and dropped that line everybody remembers. "Stop playing with my name. Put some respect on my name." That moment wasn't just a meme. It showed the kind of authority he expected from everybody around him. And that's the thing about Birdman. He treats loyalty like it's power in its purest form. Once you step into his world, you start playing by his rules, no negotiations. Artists, friends, even the women around him had to stick to the pattern he set, and for a long time, it actually worked. Everybody made money, everybody stayed tight, everybody stayed quiet. But here's the issue. When you build your whole empire on control and that heavy intimidation energy, it eventually starts to crack, no matter how strong it looks from the outside. And that's exactly what people started noticing when Birdman's version of respect began looking a whole lot more like pressure and fear. That's when folks realized his so-called loyalty ritual wasn't about love or unity. It was about making sure nobody even thought about stepping out of line. And the stories that came out after that had everyone looking at him sideways. Remember that wild incident with comedian DC Youngfly's friend? One late night in LA, Birdman and his crew showed up at a studio while the dude was recording, and the whole vibe flipped instantly. Birdman's team walked in heavy, voices raised, chaos everywhere, and the studio crew tried to get up out of there fast. Next thing you know, Birdman allegedly snatched the man's chain and posted it online like it was a trophy, captioning it, "Surprise party, slip in studio rich gang." Like, who even moves like that? Then there was the Keisha Cole situation. Another example of just how messy his world could get. Back in 2014, she ended up in a heated fight at Birdman's condo in LA. She allegedly walked in, saw another woman there, Sabrina Mercadal, and everything exploded. She was accused of swinging, grabbing hair, the whole chaotic scene. Birdman stayed in the center of drama like it was normal, and everybody watching couldn't believe how wild things kept getting. Sabrina ended up suing, and Keisha had to cut a check later, but honestly, that wasn't even the real story. The bigger question was, why did everything around Birdman always feel so unstable? Every woman, every artist, every business deal, somehow something always spun out of control. It was like the energy around him stayed chaotic no matter who stepped into his life.
Keisha Cole went to Birdman's penthouse and found a woman named Sabrina there and decided to lay some hands on her, and I'm not talking about prayer. Ooh, that was okay. She kind of put them paws on her, if you know what I'm talking about.
Keisha Cole look like she can fight.
She does.
She
She
does.
look like, we from the hood. We had to fight for being light-skinned.
And then you look at his whole marriage situation with Toni Braxton, and that's when it gets even crazier. As most people know by now, they secretly tied the knot around August 2024. But 2 weeks later, Toni filed for divorce, calling the marriage irretrievably broken. 2 weeks, just 2. Then out of nowhere, months later, she dropped the whole case like nothing ever happened.
By January 2025, they were suddenly back together celebrating an anniversary like everything was sweet again. Tell me that doesn't sound confusing as ever? That back and forth energy, that emotional whiplash, it felt like being connected to him came with some kind of curse. 1 minute things looked perfect, the next minute everything was flipping upside down.
And if you want to understand how deep that pattern really went, you only need to look at one relationship, his long, messy history with Lil Wayne. For years, Wayne called Birdman his father, and they looked inseparable. Every photo, every interview, even that moment on stage where they kissed, fans swore it was real family love. But behind that picture-perfect bond was pressure, control, and money that wasn't lining up. By 2014, everything snapped apart. The loyalty, the trust, the whole father-son image, all of it cracked wide open, and the world finally saw what had been boiling underneath for years. As everybody already knows, Lil Wayne was supposed to drop Thaw Carter Fee, but Birdman kept blocking it like he had the keys to Wayne's whole life. Wayne finally snapped and said he felt like a prisoner, wanting off the label completely. He even admitted he didn't want anything to do with Birdman or Cash Money anymore, and that's when people started realizing the empire wasn't as solid as it looked on the outside. Because if Birdman could fall out with the man who literally helped build Cash Money from the ground up, then who was actually safe around him? Wayne pushed it even further and filed a $51 million lawsuit, claiming Birdman owed him money and was holding his entire project hostage. This wasn't regular music business beef. This was deep, personal betrayal between two men who once moved like family. Then came the darkest twist. Back in 2015, Wayne's tour bus was shot up in Atlanta right after a show, and somehow, by some miracle, nobody on that bus got hurt. Later, it came out the shooter was Pee Wee Roscoe, an associate of Young Thug, who at that time was getting closer and closer to Birdman. That connection made the whole situation look way too suspicious for comfort. Birdman denied having anything to do with it, but the public couldn't ignore how wild things had gotten. How do you go from calling somebody your son to being tangled in a situation that ends with gunshots flying at a tour bus? That's not normal label business. That's a whole different level of chaos. After that, folks started putting all the puzzle pieces together, and the way he cut artists off, controlled their money, and made people feel boxed in. It had fans wondering if Wayne's situation exposed something much bigger about the way Birdman operated. It all started looking like one big pattern. The same ritual-style behavior Toni Braxton hinted about. The same strange energy people kept warning others to avoid. Wayne might have settled his lawsuit in 2018 and walked away free, but the damage was already done. Birdman's name was never viewed the same again because Wayne's situation exposed exactly how that system worked. Loyalty got rewarded, but independence got punished every single time. And if Wayne himself wasn't above that pressure, then nobody else stood a chance. And here's the wild part. After everything that went down between him and Wayne, you'd think Birdman would fall back and stay quiet for a while. But nope. Instead, he jumped straight back into flex mode like nothing ever happened. He started bragging about Cash Money making billions and claimed he still owned all his masters like it was a badge of honor. He even said Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Lil Wayne helped the label make over $2 billion. And at first, it sounded impressive as ever. But once folks hit the comments, the energy changed real quick. One fan wrote, "How much of that did the artist see?" Another person said, "Birdman lies way too much for me to take him at face value." Then someone else added, "Birdman having a 90-10 split with Universal? This is very believable." That's when things clicked for a lot of people. All that billionaire talk, those huge numbers, the flexing, it might have just been a part of his control game. The whole system only worked as long as everybody believed Birdman was untouchable, calm, and always running the show without breaking a sweat. But the cracks started showing, and that's exactly where Toni's words hit deeper than people realized. She paid attention to something most folks completely missed. The energy around him wasn't just business, it was something much darker.
He's always been aloof. He doesn't like people knowing about him, and I always tell him, babe, you need to change the narrative.
Birdman has always moved like a mystery. Distant, guarded, never letting anybody see the real version of him. Toni noticed that cold energy right away, which is exactly why she told him he needed to change the narrative before it swallowed him whole. That polished image he walks around with, the one that makes him seem untouchable and above everybody else, Toni felt like that was part of his whole ritual. The same controlled energy he used to keep artists in line and keep the public impressed. But behind the curtain, he was struggling to keep that mask from slipping. And then Rick Ross stepped in and shook the whole table. He dropped that diss track, Idols Become Rivals. And honestly, he said out loud what a lot of people had been whispering for years. Ross called Birdman out for mistreating his artists, especially DJ Khaled, saying Birdman caused Khaled real pain and left him stuck in a bad spot. Birdman was broke, ducking debts, and even leaning on Toni Braxton financially. He said Birdman had already lost his Miami mansion and might have borrowed money from Toni just to stay afloat. That's when folks started taking the rumors seriously. Because right after that diss dropped, a company called Multimedia Innovations filed a lien against Birdman for unpaid work done on that same mansion. Lighting, smart home tech, everything. They said he still owed around $20,000. And it didn't stop there. That mansion went from being one of his biggest flexes to one of his biggest headaches. He bought it for around $14.5 million back in 2012. But after a few years, he stopped making payments altogether. The lender hit him with a lawsuit, and the house eventually got foreclosed. And here's the crazy part. That foreclosure wasn't even the end of his financial problems. It was only the beginning of a whole new chapter of chaos. That mansion had everything. 40 bedrooms, 2 wine cellars, a full theater, even its own private beach. But it still sat empty like a giant reminder that looking rich doesn't erase bad energy. And right when people thought the situation couldn't get messier, another story dropped about him, not paying rent on a different mansion in Los Angeles. The management company claimed he owed 5 months of rent at $33,000 a month, and they even said he refused to sign the paperwork they gave him. That's how deep his arrogance allegedly ran. By this point, folks online were saying the same thing. Birdman's so-called ritual wasn't working anymore. That respect he took from people through fear and control? Gone. His whole image was cracking from every direction, and the worst part was how everyone connected to him started catching the fallout too. Toni Braxton, for example, got hit with her own IRS and state tax liens totaling over $450,000. It made people wonder if the same dark energy that built Birdman's empire was now circling back, touching everybody who got too close to him. It didn't feel like success anymore. It felt like a warning. And when the dust settled, all that remained was silence, mystery, and a legacy that looked more like a caution sign than a victory lap. Everything around him felt twisted, like the price for standing beside him was always higher than the reward. But what do you think? Was this just business gone wrong, or was something deeper happening behind those closed doors? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this video, and make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss the next wild story coming your way. See you on the next one.